As you all know, all across America, violent crime has increased, and Harris County is no exception. We have a pandemic, we have the economic impacts of the pandemic, and of course, continued gun violence, and that's taken a toll. A third of an increase in terms of homicides. Similarly, a 31% increase in aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. We need to do better than that, and that is why we're adding another tool in the fight against crime in our community. Even though crime is up, the good news is that the violent crime and the violent crime increase is concentrated in particular communities within our county. It's not necessarily all over the place, and so that helps us tackle it. Today at Commissioner's Court, we will consider a new proposal that was developed by the Sheriff's Office with support of the County Administrator. It is a precision policing initiative, and what it does is it targets resources, specifically law enforcement officers in the areas, the microzones, with the highest incidence of violent crime. So we are strategically pinpointing and then attacking crime, and the best part of it is we are doing it hand in hand with the community. For too long, we've been using blunt tools to tackle crime, when instead we could be smarter and more strategic. And so these are the three parts of the Harris County SAFE program. That's the name of the program. First, the initiative uses data mapping and analytics to identify microzones with the highest incidence of violent crime. So these are areas that the data shows are specific hotspots within the 5 policing units, the policing districts that the Harris County Sheriff's Office looks after. This is done through the Sheriff's Crime Analysis and Intelligence Division to identify these hotspots, and they've already been pinpointed. The second piece of this is to increase police visibility in those areas, to prioritize street-level deterrence, and to prioritize the arrest specifically of repeat offenders in those communities. There will be both constables and sheriff's deputies conducting this policing, and it's going to be an additional 96 officers per day that are going to be able to go into these hotspots and tackle the violent crime. The third piece, very important, is engaging the community. The Sheriff's Office will partner with those specific neighborhoods before, during, and after the initiative. It's important that we communicate what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the results. And the key piece in the engagement is also data collection. They will be conducting data on disparities, body cam data, making sure that there aren't disproportionate impacts on certain communities, making sure that everything is done fairly. It's so the theory of the case, and this is evidence-based, has been shown to work, is by increasing policing in those areas, by working to take repeat violent offenders off the streets in the targeted microzones, that we will be able to make a dent in our region's crime rate. And this should be able to get off the ground here in a few weeks. Before I hand it off to Commissioner Garcia, I do want to note this is just the latest in a slew of initiatives that we've launched to address violent crime in Harris County. Over the past several years, we have increased the budgets for every law enforcement agency in Harris County, including every constable's office and the DA's office. We've invested millions of dollars in overtime to support our Sheriff's Office, Office of Violent Crime, and focus on the most violent crimes as we're doing today. We launched a $6 million gun violence interruption program earlier this year to stop violence before it happens. To help our judicial branch of government, we've invested millions of dollars on tackling the court backlog. Just a few months ago, we invested $50 million in an initiative to fight blight in certain communities so that there's better lighting, safer streets. And we've been able to work at tackling the root causes of crime, mental health issues, substance use disorders, $5 million for a holistic assistance response team that will help free up law enforcement for this kind of work so that the medical experts and social workers can tackle the other kind of work. So we've been using for too long ineffective tools based on outdated ideology to tackle crime, and today is an example of focusing on what does work, on focusing on what will have a positive impact, as opposed to simply building more prisons, longer mandatory sentencing, the kinds of things that we tried in the 80s and 90s that ultimately failed to make a meaningful dent in tackling recidivism and did end up weakening the trust between law enforcement and communities. So I'm very proud. I urge the court to pass this initiative today. I'm very, very proud to stand with these leaders. Very briefly, in Spanish, le agradezco como siempre a mi colega, el comisionado Adrián García, quien tantos años como policía y claro, como líder de gobierno ha batallado contra el crimen, y también al Chief Lee, su colega Major Cutter, han trabajado muchísimo con el alguacil González para llevar a cabo esta iniciativa. La tasa de crimen violento ha incrementado a través de todo nuestro país, y en el condado Harris no somos excepción. El número de homicidios ha incrementado un 33%, en cuanto a el asalto agravado con arma mortal, un incremento de 31%. Entonces, esto obviamente es preocupante, es negativo, es debido a la pandemia, a los impactos económicos de la pandemia, y también la violencia armada, la disponibilidad tan amplia de armas de fuego en la comunidad. Lo positivo es que este incremento en la violencia y en la violencia armada está concentrado en ciertas áreas del condado, no sucede realmente por todos lados. Entonces eso nos permite atacarlo de una manera más estratégica. Hoy vamos a considerar una propuesta que se enfoca en policía de precisión, en identificar cuáles son las áreas más impactadas por el crimen violento y concentrar los policías en esas áreas. El programa que se ha diseñado tiene tres partes. El primero utiliza datos, análisis y mapeo para identificar microzonas con más incidencia de crimen, de delitos violentos. Ya se han identificado esas 7 zonas, 7 microzonas dentro de los 5 distritos policiales de la oficina del alguacil. La segunda parte del programa es incrementar la visibilidad de los policías en esas 7 microzonas. En cuanto a policía en la calle, que uno vea esa presencia, ese es un impedimento contra el crimen. También el arresto de reincidentes. Así aseguramos que las personas que más crimen cometen no sigan libres en las calles. Finalmente, asociarse con los vecindarios impactados, trabajar con la comunidad. Esta unidad de policías va a trabajar con la comunidad antes, durante y después del programa para identificar, explicar y conversar acerca de qué es esta iniciativa, de qué se trata, responder preguntas, tomar ideas. Y algo que para mí es muy importante, vamos a colectar todos los datos, la información racial, étnica, los videos de las cámaras que utilizan los policías para asegurarse que todo sea de una manera equitativa, no discriminatoria, y eso se va a estudiar. Quiero dejar muy claro, esta es simplemente lo último de una serie de iniciativas que hemos adoptado para abordar el tema de crimen violento en el condado Harris. Durante los últimos 3 años hemos incrementado el presupuesto de todas las agencias de aplicación de la ley en el condado Harris, incluyendo la oficina del alguacil, de los constables y la fiscal. Hemos invertido $6 millones en un programa de interrupción de violencia con armas de fuego, también para apoyar a nuestra rama judicial, millones de dólares para atacar la acumulación de casos en los tribunales penales. Hace poco invertimos $50 millones para atacar los edificios arruinados, las calles oscuras, todos estos impactos ambientales que son incubadores de crimen y de violencia armada. Y además invertimos también $5 millones en atacar las causas fundamentales de la delincuencia, trabajar con doctores, con trabajadores sociales en el tema de salud mental para que los policías puedan enfocarse en los delitos violentos y los expertos en temas más médicos, más sociales puedan trabajar en eso. Fundamentalmente se trata de una estrategia fuerte, pero también inteligente. Por muchos años se ha basado la estrategia policial en ideología anticuada, construir más prisiones, intentar incrementar las sentencias obligatorias, y eso no ha dado buenos resultados, al contrario, ha debilitado la credibilidad entre la comunidad y la comunidad policial. Entonces, estamos trabajando en que esta iniciativa funcione, va a incrementar el número de policías en estas microzonas a 94 oficiales más al día. Son policías que vienen tanto de la oficina del alguacil como de la oficina de los constables, y nos vamos a enfocar en estas 7 zonas. Ya Chief Lee tendrá más información. Entonces, me enorgullece muchísimo haber trabajado en esto con mi colega, el comisionado García, y sé que ambos esperamos que nuestros colegas en la Corte apoyen esta iniciativa. Commissioner García.
Thank you, Judge. Belated Thanksgiving to everyone. And let me first commend Sheriff Gonzalez, Chief Lee, and Major Cotter for their respective leadership in bringing in a very precise and very strategic and surgical strike to neighborhoods that have been overwhelmed. The data that Major Lee and his team has put together identifies that this is a problem that is challenging very, very specific areas. And so with a very strategic and very surgical strike to those areas, with a combination of resources, approaches, and strategies, I am very, very confident, based on my experience of years past, that this will bear immense fruit, as our previous initiatives have already bared fruit. Already, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, in coordination with the constables, have taken over 200 wanted violent offenders off the streets of Harris County. This will do more. But this is a holistic, strategic, and surgical strike. Too often in years past, we have brought down the thunder of God on communities and then just left debris behind. The holistic and collective community approach that the sheriff has put together will make sure that communities know that we're there to work for them, support them, and to make sure that their communities can be walkable and safe yet again. And so I'm very proud of this, and I'll just close with this point. Judge Hidalgo has been very clear. This is just yet another approach to making sure that we're doing all to heal Harris County. Years past, throughout my life experiences, we have had various economic downturns. And in every one of those economic downturns, crime has been one of the major outputs of those downturns. Violent crime, we've seen officers lose their lives, but yet there was only a one-dimensional approach when we went to address those issues. It was strictly law enforcement. But I'm proud of the fact that we're taking care of small businesses. We're taking care of people's health. We're making sure that food is on the table. All respective elements that ensure that the whole community is being lifted up. And while the brave men and women in law enforcement are ensuring that those who want to be predators and who want to try to victimize those who are already struggling, they just don't know it, but they got a pair of handcuffs already on them, thanks to this strategy that we will see unfolding. So I'm very proud to be here, and I want to thank Judge Hidalgo for her leadership as well, and I believe that this will be one of those 5-0 votes that we will see at Commissioner's Court. Thank you very much. Gracias a todos. Me da mucho orgullo y placer de estar aquí con ustedes. reconociendo el trabajo del alguacil González, el Chief Lee, el Major Cotter y todo el equipo del Departamento de Alguacil del Condado Harris. Estamos reconociendo que este es un esfuerzo que va a ser muy estratégico, muy específico para atacar la delincuencia en ciertas áreas que están afectadas y han sido afectadas por la delincuencia y por los delincuentes. La idea aquí es de ser bien preciso en quién buscar, dónde atacar y dónde poner los recursos. Pero también la estratégica es holística. Estar seguro que la comunidad llega a saber que nuestros elementos de la seguridad pública están aquí para apoyarlos, trabajar por ellos, servirlos y trabajar y asegurar que sus comunidades pueden ser seguras y sanas nuevamente, donde ellos pueden salir sin preocupo de su seguridad. Y también de reconocer que esto es solo un esfuerzo más del condado de la Huesa Hidalgo, su servidor y mis colegas, en llegar a cabo esfuerzos para apoyar toda la comunidad del condado Harris. En mi tiempo, yo he visto varios afectos a la economía. Y desgraciadamente, cada vez que estamos viendo que la economía ha sido afectada, vemos que uno de los resultados de esa reducción en el esfuerzo de nuestra economía es la delincuencia. Pero en tiempos antes hemos mandado los oficiales a trabajar, pero no pensando en cómo dejar la comunidad ya después que los oficiales lleguen a entrar. Entonces, esta estratégica está completa, está holística, porque no solo vamos a ir a buscar los malhechores, pero vamos a estar seguros que la comunidad llega a saber que estamos allí para trabajar con ellos y apoyarlos. Eso es lo bello de este plan. Entonces, nuevamente, le doy todas las gracias al Departamento de Alguacil, a los constables que van a ser parte de este esfuerzo, pero también de reconocer que esto es solo un esfuerzo más en combatir la delincuencia que hemos visto. No nos hemos olvidado de la seguridad de nuestros residentes y estamos sumamente preocupados y estamos haciendo todo posible para afectar esta delincuencia en un aspecto positivo, pero también con un grande impacto de largo plazo. Gracias. Thank you,
Chief.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today as we launch our Harris County Safe Violent Crime Initiative. I am Assistant Chief Mike Lee with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and this morning here with me is Major Susan Cotter. Major Cotter is over all patrol operations for the Harris County Sheriff's Office. I'm grateful to the County Judge, Commissioner Garcia, and the entire Commissioner's Court for continuing to invest in proven approaches and viable public safety strategies to prevent and respond to violent crime. With their leadership and support, we have implemented and are implementing multi-pronged solutions to better serve the residents of Harris County and to keep gaining insight into the unique needs of each community. We're here today because we continue to move toward a comprehensive strategy for reducing violent crime, an approach grounded in research, data, transparency, and constant review. Effectively using data-driven models like the Harris County Safe Initiative encourages transparency and accountability intended to build legitimacy and trust between police and the community. Senseless violence has shaken our communities and taken the lives of too many people. In unincorporated Harris County alone, since 2019, murders have increased nearly 33%, and violent crime offenses have increased nearly 18% overall. It's our job as peace officers to help protect our communities. Our residents deserve to feel safe. Our Harris County Safe Violent Crime Initiative will assign deputies to 7 of our most violence-prone areas in the county, referred to as microzones, in the exact areas and the exact times that police services are needed the most. This initiative will provide, on average, an additional 96 deputies on a daily basis to the streets of unincorporated Harris County, proactively addressing violent crime. This initiative is a proactive policing strategy focused on building community relationships and drawing on the deterrent value of high visibility, targeted enforcement. It's about prioritizing street-level crime prevention and removing violent offenders and their firearms from our communities in areas where violent crime is concentrated the most. This initiative will tell us when and where to focus our strategies for long-term change in disproportionately affected areas. We know that violent crime is not a problem that can be solved by law enforcement alone. At the heart of this data-driven model is community policing. And at the heart of the community policing model is community engagement. Our Community Problem-Oriented Policing Unit, also known as CPOP, will engage residents and stakeholders throughout the initiative to engage directly with them as partners to prioritize social harms and to solicit input on additional solutions to prevent violent crime in their communities. Regularly generated progress reports by our crime analysts will keep deputies and residents informed and lay the foundation for assessing effectiveness in the use of specific operational techniques in personnel deployment. This constant monitoring and evaluation will provide valuable feedback for adjustments in realigning resource allocation. It will serve as a complement and force multiplier to our existing crime reduction efforts seen in our various dedicated units and task forces. Analysis-driven strategic policing is critical, especially as agencies seek to improve public safety with increasingly limited resources. With the support of Harris County Commissioners Court and our community, we will work to address our most violent-prone areas to make Harris County safe. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take any questions.
Yeah, Judge, Dr. Thompson, H&D Magazine. Community policing, relational policing, these things you are saying are the same things that we've discussed with former HPD Chief Acevedo and others. HPD has been involved in most of these things. So when we talk about policing of the 21st century, it's not different from what you're saying. So what you're saying is not new. My concern is, why at this point in time, and of what use could this be politically to those who are not here and know what all of this is going? Because I know that some of your colleagues in the Commissioner's Court, where we thought at Crime Stoppers a few weeks ago, and we're discussing some of these issues, they have different opinions and ideas about some of these violent crimes, repeat offenders, accusing judges and prosecutors. So what are your comments to the issues that raised?
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is crime is up. That's a concern. We need to tackle it. We need to make sure that there's a system that can distinguish between repeat violent offenders and low-level folks that don't need to be incarcerated. We need to make sure that all the stakeholders recognize that there is no silver bullet. We can't pretend like any one thing is the cause of the crime or any one silver bullet is going to magically solve it. And so what we're doing is looking at a slew of evidence-based initiatives, fighting blight, tackling the backlog, working on mental health, working on homelessness, working on violence interruptions. I mean, even sending teams to the hospital when there's someone who is there from a gunshot wound to try to stop that cycle of gun violence. And then now this investment on the precision policing. As the chief said, they're looking at what time of day. I mean, we have the data between what time and what time in which neighborhood we need a specific attention, because that is when crime occurs. So, you know, I'm not going to pretend like this initiative by itself is going to solve all our problems, and that's what I ask, that nobody do that. We have to be very honest, very straightforward with the community. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take a slew of smart initiatives, but what we can't do is go back to the 80s and 90s and simply say, you know, build more prisons, lock them all up, you know, because no jail's going to be big enough for that. And we tried that. And all it did was increase disparities and make us to where we incarcerate more people than any other nation. So, you know, that's what we're doing here, is being tough, but also being smart. Yeah.
Judge, you mentioned a very specific, very targeted area, 7 specific locations within the community. I know that our viewers and those community members are going to want to know, is that my community? Can you tell us specifically where these areas are that you'll be concentrating?
Yes, I'll leave that up to Chief Lee. I want to make a point, and he did make it, and perhaps I wasn't clear enough with it. This initiative is focused on unincorporated Harris County. So some viewers might say, I know my community has high violence, why not mine? And the answer might be because it's in the city of Houston. But what we're trying to do is divide and conquer. City of Houston has a Houston Police Department that only focuses there. So that's why we're leveraging our constables and sheriff's office for the areas outside the city and other cities that have their dedicated police units. So Chief Lee, you have the neighborhoods.
So the 7 microzones, each of our 5 patrol districts have those zones, and it's important to note that each of the commissioners' precincts also include at least 1 zone. And the zones are in Patrol District 1, that is what's known as the Cypress Station, 1960 Kirkendall area. In our Patrol District 2, that is in Commissioner Garcia's area, that is the Aldine area. In our Patrol District 3, which is the east side of Harris County, that is also in Commissioner Garcia's area. That is the Wood Forest, Uvalde Road intersection area, also known as kind of the North Shore area. Also Freeport and Normandy at I-10, the Channelview area. Out in our Patrol District 4, that is the areas of like Little York, Queenston, Eldridge, also Morton, Franz Road, Psalms, Park Row area. And also in our Patrol District 5, which is in the northwest part of Harris County, I believe in Commissioner Cagle's area, that is the 290, 1960, 1960 Jones Road, 1960 Mills Road, West Little York, Gessner Road, Highway 6 and West Road, Highway 6 Point Northwest Boulevard areas. Those are the 7 microzones.
We have time for just 1 or 2 more questions if the court's starting.
Judge, how's the Harris County court system working with you to keep these offenders from low bonding back out on the street to commit more crimes like we're seeing so much lately?
Yeah, I mean, part of the challenge, and this has surfaced recently with an investigative report that the Houston Chronicle did, is a lot of, certainly most of the offenders that are out and recidivate do so because they pay their bond. And what we've learned is many times the bail bond companies actually set a lower percentage. So typically it's 10% of the bail that the defendants are supposed to pay. At this point, up front, at this point, they're being asked to pay 1 or 2% in some cases, and over 1 to 2 years. And so it's important to do that. The last court, we passed a request to ask the bail bond companies, let us see that data. You know, what percentage are you charging folks? Because we don't want people, you know, to pay 1-2%, then they get out and recidivate. Fundamentally, it's about the system. The United States is one of only 2 nations, Philippines being the other one, around the world that uses private bond companies as the way to ensure that people come back. So obviously, if it were a good system, the other countries would use it. So we can't control the existence of this private bond system that puts profits, bail bond profits, over public safety. What we can do is shine a light on that and then work to tackle the other issues around it. The bigger challenge, of course, is the increased crime rate, the issue of COVID, the economy. I mean, there's so many different pieces, gun violence. But I think if we tackle all of those, shine a light on the bond issues, give the judges the tools they need to make informed decisions, the space they need to have enough jurors to move their trials along. I mean, we are going at it from every angle. I do want to make a note on the Omicron variant. I know we received a lot of questions about that, and then I'll answer another question. But on that note, we are watching very closely. We don't have any cases right now that are reported in Harris County, but it's probably a matter of time. It's surely a matter of time before we have one. What we know right now is there are hypotheses out there about the fact that the variant may be more transmissible, that the variant may be more dangerous, but the studies have yet to be completed. So in the meantime, my message to the community is be alert, no need to panic. Certainly, the thing that you can do, that you can be sure will make a difference, is get your vaccine and get your booster. That is the surefire way against this variant or others to certainly make a difference, and then we'll see as the data comes back just how effective. Hopefully the vaccine will be just as effective as it is against the other variants, but certainly it will have a big impact. En cuanto a la variante Omicron, hemos recibido bastantes preguntas. Sé que es una preocupación. No hay ningún caso en este momento en nuestro condado, pero a medida que pase el tiempo, seguramente van a aparecer los casos. En este momento hay hipótesis que de repente la variante sea más contagiosa, más peligrosa. No sabemos, falta que se hagan los estudios. Entonces, por mientras, lo que se puede hacer, lo más impactante para protegernos contra eso es la vacuna y la vacuna de refuerzo. Entonces, hagan eso, ayúdennos como comunidad y así vamos a sufrir un mucho menor impacto de esta variante. Ya veremos qué tan difícil sea, esperemos que sea igual, de repente menos peligrosa, pero ya veremos. Es ciertamente posible que sea más peligrosa, más contagiosa, pero por ahora no lleguemos a conclusiones sin los datos necesarios.
All right, we've got to roll because we've got court.
Just pushing the point, talking on that issue, and we are just now on yellow level. So with this information, it's possible that we are going to submit new charges. Are you considering to have some changes on the situation?
Yeah, one of our threat level system says at level yellow. People who are vaccinated should feel comfortable not wearing a mask. We want to stick with our threat level system. At the same time, if the variant proves to be more contagious, we're going to have to say, you know what, everyone vaccinated or not vaccinated, as much as we don't like it, we're going to still have a recommendation to wear it. So that's the kind of thing I'm waiting for the data on. The epidemiologists, the public health department are comfortable with our threat level system right now, and then we'll see what the variant tells us. Our numbers look good. We're at yellow because our metrics are looking a lot better than before. Hospitalizations are down, cases are down, positivity is down. Now they continue to slow down. That decrease is sort of flattening, and the question is, will that lead to another increase? And ultimately, whether it will or it will not is completely in our hands. It is about vaccination. So if you are one of those folks that has not gotten your vaccine yet, spare us a fifth wave of COVID that might be more dangerous. We've lost enough people. Help us by getting your vaccine. And if you have your 2 shots and it's been 6 months, get your booster. I got mine just last week, and I felt a little bit tired for about 24 hours, and now I feel great, and I know that I'm as protected as I can be from this virus. So I hope everyone will join me in doing the same. You can always get the shot at your clinic, your doctor's office, the pharmacy, or readyharris.org. It is always free, no insurance required.
Okay, thank you all very much. I know
Thank
Chief Lee will be around if you all have any questions for him.
Thank you.
And guys, I have this map. Y'all want a copy sent to you?
Good job, man. Good job. This, here's the see how all the results are coming, because I want to keep feeding it. Okay? All right, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lisa, you can move it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah, no problem, guys. You want me to just pass that around and?
Do you have that card?
Oh, let me use that.
You with the sheriff's office?
No, I'm with Commissioner Garcia.
Oh, okay, okay. Wait, Scott?
I am.
I'm Nicole.
Oh, hey, Nicole.
Yeah, I'm the one that.
Nice to finally see you in person.
They almost didn't let me in.
Yeah, they, I guess I think I threw out my last.
That's okay, I got your number.
Yeah, just, yeah, give me a call or shoot me an email. Thanks. Yes.
We can bring up for the map for everyone.
Yeah, or I can email a digital copy. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just bring a few copies so that you guys have it.
Mr. Yo, Bill Lucian, Highway 6.